You've probably heard willpower described as a battery, strong in the morning, drained by the end of the day. That idea comes from real research in the 1990s. Here's what most people don't know. When other labs tried to repeat that research at a larger scale years later, the effect mostly didn't show up. The battery metaphor everyone's built their entire approach to discipline around may not even be real. So if willpower isn't a depleting resource, what actually determines whether you follow through when you're tired? 5 real mechanisms, and unlike just push harder, these actually hold up. This is the execution half of the manifestation series. You already know how to prepare. This is what makes the preparation actually happen on the days it doesn't feel like it will.
1. The Willpower Myth. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's original ego depletion studies suggested self-control draws from a single limited resource that depletes with use, like a muscle getting tired. It became one of the most cited ideas in psychology for 2 decades. Then, in 2016, a large-scale registered replication involving multiple independent labs failed to reproduce the original effect. That doesn't mean self-control is limitless or effortless. It means the simple battery model was probably wrong. Here's what research since then points to instead. Psychologist Carol Dweck's work found that people who believe willpower is limited show depletion effects, and people who don't hold that belief largely don't. The belief itself may be doing more work than an actual finite resource. Why this matters for you? If you've been avoiding a task because you assume you're too depleted by evening, that assumption might be the actual obstacle, not a real biological limit. 2. Habit loops, or automaticity. Research on habit formation, including work popularized by journalist Charles Duhigg and studied extensively by psychologist Wendy Wood, shows that repeated behaviors eventually shift from requiring conscious effort to running on a cue, routine, reward loop that largely bypasses willpower altogether. This is the actual trick. The goal isn't forcing yourself through today's version of the task with sheer effort. It's engineering enough repetition with a consistent cue that the behavior stops needing willpower by the time it matters most, on the tired days. The technique: attach the action to a fixed existing cue. Same time, same location, same trigger, every single time, even in a low-effort form, until the behavior starts happening with less resistance. 3. Behavioral activation. This is a real clinical technique originally developed for treating depression, called behavioral activation. The core finding? Most people assume motivation has to come first, then action follows. The actual causal order, documented repeatedly in this research, runs the other way. Action, even a small, low-energy version of it, tends to generate motivation, not the reverse. Waiting to feel motivated before starting gets the sequence backwards. The clinical instruction is almost always the same. Do a small version of the action first, without waiting for the feeling to show up. The technique? When you don't feel like starting, commit to the smallest physically real version of the task. Not the full task, just the first physical motion, and let motivation catch up afterward, rather than waiting for it first. 4. Temptation bundling. Behavioral economist Katie Milkman's research at Wharton tested pairing an enjoyable stimulus an addictive audiobook, a favorite show, exclusively with an effortful task, like exercise. People who could only access the enjoyable stimulus while doing the effortful task showed measurably higher adherence than a control group.
The mechanism is straightforward. It doesn't remove the effort, but it makes engaging with the task intrinsically rewarding in the moment, instead of relying purely on delayed, abstract benefits to carry you through. The technique? Pick one genuinely enjoyable thing you only allow yourself during the task you keep avoiding, and hold that restriction consistently, or the effect doesn't work. 5. The 2-minute rule and the Zeigarnik effect. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik documented that unfinished tasks create a specific kind of mental tension. They stay active in your attention until completed, more than tasks you haven't started at all. That's the basis for a very practical technique. Commit only to 2 minutes of a task, not the whole thing. Once you've started, the Zeigarnik effect works in your favor. The unfinished task now pulls at your attention, making continuing easier than the decision to start ever was. Most resistance lives entirely in the starting decision, not in the task itself. The technique: when a task feels too big to face while tired, commit explicitly to 2 minutes only, with permission to stop after. And notice how often you don't actually stop. The honest caveat: one distinction actually matters here, and it's worth being honest about. Everything in this video is built to counter low motivation and inertia, the ordinary resistance to doing something you genuinely want to do. It is not built to override real exhaustion, burnout, or illness. Those aren't a willpower problem. They're your body giving you accurate information, and pushing through that kind of tired repeatedly is what leads to burnout, not discipline. The actual skill is telling the two apart. Resistance shows up as reluctance to start, and usually fades once you begin. Genuine exhaustion tends to persist even once you're a few minutes in, and often comes with physical signs, not just a mental "I don't want to." These 5 techniques are for the first kind. The second kind needs rest, not a technique. None of this is about forcing yourself through anything. It's about understanding that the willpower story most people were told was probably wrong, and replacing it with mechanisms that are actually documented to work on the days it doesn't feel like it will. This closes out the manifestation series: preparation, then follow-through. If you want a full recap combining both into one framework, let me know in the comments.